Hello, hello. How's it going, everybody? Thanks for joining in as I sit at home and listen to new music. It was my first time doing a live stream on YouTube, so drop a comment if you guys can hear me. Let me know if everything's okay with the audio and the video. I need the feedback to know you guys can hear everything, so that's cool. Okay, so here's what I have in mind. As I said on Instagram earlier, I have been separated from my studio and I'm over here in Delhi, but all I carried with me was my laptop and literally just my laptop and my mouse, and left behind all of my synths and everything in Goa where I live, because I thought I'll be back in Goa in like a week or 10 days, but then the lockdown hit and now it looks like I'm going to be here for a really long time. So for a little while, I was super frustrated and disappointed because I was just so broken up about the fact that I have all this time and I'm home in lockdown, and yeah, super broken up about this time that I have a lot of time at home and I don't have any of my equipment. But then I remembered the advice that I give to a lot of people, which is that you don't really need a lot of equipment to make music. All you need is a laptop and a pair of headphones. So I decided to follow my own advice and start making music just fully in the box. It's been maybe like 8 years since I've not had any hardware and I haven't been using any hardware. And I haven't, yeah, it's been about 8 years since I haven't had any hardware. And it's a bit of a challenge for sure once you're used to the workflow of, use dialing in your synthesizers and committing to the parts and everything. But all said and done, I have taken about a week to get used to working fully in the box again with just plugins and VSTs. And so here it is. I started the song yesterday at like 6 p.m. and I just got this little idea just to have a little casual sort of studio hang session. You know what I mean? Okay. So here's what I did from yesterday. I'm going to keep the stream on for an hour just so you guys know how much time to expect, and also so that we can get into a bit of depth. I'm going to first just show you what I've covered so far, what I've done, and then we're just going to build on the song. In the meantime, I can see your guys' comments up here in front of me. So if you have any questions about what I'm asking, if you have any questions about what I'm doing, feel free to ask. Keep in mind that there's like a 20-second lag on this thing. So I'll see your questions 20 seconds after you post them, but no worries. I'll go back to whatever it is that you wanted me to clarify or show you in more details. So let's start with the drums over here. All these drums are from the Native Instruments Machine plugin. Now, obviously, I don't have the hardware unit with me. And so what I did is just use the drum designer. I really, really like the drum designer in Machine. Essentially, you go to a new sound and you click internal drum synth. That's what it's called. So here's what the beat sounds like. Yeah, I've got my plugins with me. Jaydev is asking. So I've got my plugins with me, and I have quite a few plugins, thankfully. Just earlier this year in January, I decided to go and upgrade all of my plugins in one go. And so I, bought a bunch of plugins. And honestly, I've been using bought plugins more often because dealing with cracked plugins is just a pain in the ass, and you don't get free updates and regular maintenance stuff, customer support. So I choose to go with plugins that I bought. Anyway, coming back to these drums, the reason why I use the Machine drum engine is because it gives me a lot of control, right? So let's just look at this kick for a second. Right. So you have these 5 engines over here. like dusty, grit. So they're just different ones, but I'd gone with dusty because it has like a bit of a low end punch to it. The tune is a bit high. I set the decay to a point where I'm getting a bit of residual low end. The impact is essentially, the impact is the initial transient that comes through, and a bit of white noise just to help it cut through. Same with the snare. You know, actually, I ended up removing the snare later, so let's skip that. Now for the hi-hats, I find the velocity to be a really, really important thing with the hi-hat. This was a bit fiddly for me to do because with the actual machine plugin, it's a lot easier to just kind of use the pressure-sensitive velocity, the pressure-sensitive pads to adjust the velocity. But over here, I did it manually and then just duplicated it. So the hi-hats are giving a lot of groove, and I actually added a bit of swing to it. You can see it up here, 0% swing, and I just kind of went up to like 12%, tiny bit, and then there are two kicks. So this is like a slightly subby kick, and this is a really subby kick. That's kind of a 4x4. The other one's a step beat. So the way I do it, the way I did it, is to take it, for example, just to solo the one kick part and drag and drop it onto the track in Ableton, and there you go. You have it. So that's what I really like about using the Native Instruments machine, is it's really, really easy to render the parts. So anyway, I'm just gonna group these drum parts into one because grouping is super useful. Okay, and label. So here's what the drum beat sounds like. Right. So you'll notice this sub kick over here is doing a lot of the low end work, but I do have a bass line which I'll play for you now so that you will be able to tell what exactly it's doing with. Well, like I said, I started this song yesterday, and right now I have two options for the bass line. One is just a straight super low end, just removed all the high end. You can see over here I've removed everything up to about 500, and there's a little scoop at 200 because I felt it was being a bit muddy over there. Then the next thing to take a look at is this main lead layer. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn off all of these plugins. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, just to show you what the original sound is. My favorite VST synth at this point, 100%, is Omnisphere. I bought it. It's a bit expensive, but so worth it. I mean, I was spending a bunch of money on hardware synths, and then I realized that, you know, you can't travel with hardware synths, and, you know, just as well, because Omnisphere is really saving my life right now. I've already used it 3 times in this session, and will probably use it a few more times, but also I have to try not to just use Omnisphere for the whole track. So anyway, this is a little lead layer that I programmed in using this keyboard. But what I played at first is not at all what it ended up sounding like, because there's a lot of sort of tweaking and stuff that went in. But anyway, this is the sound of just the VST without any effects. Okay, so first thing we have is a compressor over here, which is listening to the sidechain layer. I have the kick over here on a silent sidechain track. You can see over here, this sidechain track is off. So, as you can see, this one is just a little compressor. The next one is an auto filter. Starts a bit lower, and then that's the highest that it goes. So the filter opens really gradually. Like you can see the filter automation over here. It's pretty much not going beyond this point because the original sound, just a bit shrill, wasn't a huge fan. But after filtering it, what really changed the game is to use this Waves GTR guitar amplifier on this. Check this out. So it gives it this really nice kind of slightly gritty sound. And this compressor over here is actually sidechained to the next lead layer. So whenever the next lead layer plays, then this one gets a bit compressed. And here is the second layer. Let me turn that compressor on. Then I've got another EQ on the previous layer, which is like that. And finally, this plugin from Shaperbox. Sorry, we're still on the first layer here. But what this is just a simple sidechain on the 4x4 to give this a bit of movement. So this is the second layer that I'm again using Omnisphere for. This time I'm using Omnisphere as a sample player. So there's this mallet sound going on here. Let me just show you what that sounds like without all the plugins. Super pretty sound. Got the compressor over here. That is that listening to sidechain? Yeah. So that's again listening to the sidechain of this kick, which keep in mind, this is not a 4x4 kick. This is a step beat kick. So that's what this layer is doing. But then again, I went and put that guitar amp plugin, the same one from Waves, on the second layer as well. Jaydev is asking, do I use Contact as well? Yeah, totally. We can pull up Contact after this one. I mean, Contact is amazing. It's kind of endless. So yeah, here's the second bell layer with the guitar amp sound. And then finally, this is just to sort of clean up the sound a bit. So, I think it is okay to use a visual aid while you're EQing. I really like this EQ, FabFilter Pro Q. It shows you exactly what's going on, and it takes a bit of getting used to, mainly because of this whole twisted system of metering that they have. But once you get your head past that, then I find Pro Q extremely useful. So anyway, this is what the second layer sounds like. And then I've got a couple of samples. This one is from Splice, LAX City. Had a really nice vocal pack. So this is what that looked. I kind of messed around with the sample a bit, stretched it out. Also removed a lot of the low end from it. Anyway, let me just play everything that I have, everything that I've produced so far, and then we'll continue on and work on the track as a whole. Okay, sorry, I've got machine playing. So I have these two options. The first baseline is just, really simple, straight notes. The second one is kind of, a bit up and down. Sort of is saying, open the next gig with this track. I mean, this does have a gig opening kind of energy. I'll take that advice. So, tips to give stereo width to the leads. So, there's one plugin in particular that I always use for any kind of widening, and that is BX Control and other plugins from Brainworks. The plugins are really expensive if you buy them directly, but there's this thing called Plugin Alliance. It's like I think $15 a month or something like that. And there's a subscription bundle, and you get like more than 100 plugins. So this one, BX Control, for example, will actually, I'll show you what it does. So let's take a look at this main lead right now. Activation required. What the hell? Online. Oh, god damn it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I haven't activated all my plugins on my laptop, so I'm gonna have to do that later. But yeah, check out Plugin Alliance and BX Control. Let's see what everyone's saying. So stereo width to the leads. That's a good question. So what really helped me with the stereo width over here was putting this guitar amp. Actually, if you listen to the sound, I don't know if you're listening with headphones or monitors, but I would recommend that so you can get an idea of what's going on. But yeah, this is what it sounds like without the guitar amp. It's very centered, kind of a bit collapsed almost. And with it, this plugin just does a really good job of that because it has this left-right control over here. So I've delayed the left side a little bit using this control, so you can see. So that really helped widen it. Essentially, the rules for widening are, if you either delay one side from the other, that's going to widen it. You can use a stereo imager. Actually, Ableton's utility is really quite useful as well for widening. You can do, and this utility is also really useful to widen leads. Right. So that's how I widen the lead. Now let's see what everyone else is saying. Am I ever planning to go back to my old style? I honestly don't know if that's possible. I mean, it's been so many years. We're all changing and growing, and I don't know if I have a choice. I just have to stay current and keep doing something new, something that's exciting. I don't think just rehashing the past, whatever's worked in the past, is going to work. Obviously, it's a bit scary, not knowing what's coming in the future, but that also keeps things exciting. So I'm trying to keep moving forward. Obviously, my sound is my sound. It's just a different version of it because I'm a different version of me. Okay. So here was an idea that I had to take this sort of breakbeat, but honestly, it was kind of filling up the spectrum a little too much, and I didn't like how it was sounding, so I muted it. But it's an idea, What do you guys think of this breakbeat sort of loop? I mean, I could keep it, could lose it. I just removed it because it was sort of taking up all the space. Fragment is asking, are all the lead lines sidechained with each other? So no, usually I don't sidechain the lead lines with each other, but in this case I did. So you have two lead lines over here. There's this one, and there's this one. So I kind of want the bell to sidechain the other one. Basically, I want the bell to be on top because it's sort of a more delicate, slightly softer sound. So as you can see over here on the main lead, I've assigned this compressor to listen to the audio from bells. And so if I play both of these together, So yeah, this the main lead is sidechained by the bells. And there's another amazing plugin called Track Spacer, which is it's a really cheap plugin. It's like $30 or something like that. It's really like it's kind of insane actually what it does. It's sort of a more sophisticated version of this compressor. Wait, let me show you a little demo. Basically, the way Track Spacer works is I've created a separate bus for the sound that I want to be the trigger, right? Now I'm sending bells to this return bell bell track spacer. So that's what I've called this send over here. Bells is going 100% to that. On main lead, I'm going to turn off this compressor and add track spacer to this. Oh, come on. This is lame. I thought I was prepared, but hey, um, yeah, like as I've been working, I've had to reactivate all of my plugins one by one on my laptop. But I would really recommend looking at Track Spacer for this purpose. If you want one particular sound to take precedence over the other, Track Spacer listens to the frequencies across the spectrum and subtracts only the frequencies which are clashing. It's actually really amazing. So highly recommend that. Now, the next idea that I have was to record some guitar, maybe. We can do that. I'm a bit concerned about the latency that I'm going to hear because of all the streaming software that's going on, but I'm just going to give it a shot anyway. Wow, that is really, really bad. Okay, so I'm getting massive latency over here. Um, okay, so I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm getting this impossible latency over here. But anyway, I'm gonna try and hustle something. Okay. Normally, I wouldn't get this latency because what's happening right now is I've got Ableton, which is sending the audio into the streaming software, OBS, which is then sending it to YouTube. And I'm hearing the monitored signal from OBS. So essentially, yeah, there's a lot of latency. But anyway, I am using Guitar Rig for my guitar sound right now because my Axe FX, my beloved, beautiful Axe FX, is in Goa, where my studio is this. Sounds good enough. The latency is absolutely killing me, so I don't know what. Okay, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna. Let's hold on a second. Give me a second. Okay. That's something you don't hear every day. Somebody actually tuning the guitar. Right. Okay. So now that my guitar is mostly tuned, sorry, I apologize, but I have to get this properly tuned. Yeah. Moral of the story is never keep your guitar directly under the AC because that's what's gonna happen. It's gonna go completely out of tune. Okay, so anyway, I've got horrible latency and I can't really hear what I'm playing. Um, oh, it's my cat. One second, I'm just gonna let my cat go out. This is Mowgli for anyone who's interested. Mowgli! God, get up. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to record a guitar sample completely independently of the rest of the song, and then I'm going to have to warp it because the timing is not going to be right because there's too much latency. So here goes. Obviously, that's a really rubbish guitar line, but I'm just going to use it as some source audio to do something interesting with it. Okay. Okay, I'll take that. Just kind of straighten out the audio a bit. Hey, what up? Tej is here. What up, Tej? So what I'm doing right now is basically because I couldn't monitor myself while playing. So we have some kind of approximation of something over here. So the challenge here is to use this very kind of barely okay guitar lead and do something interesting with it. Okay, so let's go. This plugin over here by Max for Live is Buffer Shuffler. It is complete and utter chaos. Yeah, Mo is also here. What up, Mo City? What up? Okay, so I'm going to use the resampling feature to go ahead and record exactly what I've just. Abhimir is here. Everyone is here. Neil is here. Bruh. Amazing. Good to see the whole crew. Okay, let's go ahead and resample this little. Okay, cool. What do you mean everything is echoing? Oh, okay. Wait, I'm just going to turn the volume down. Ah, that's a good point, actually, that everything is echoing. Okay. So what we have here is this very sort of. Okay, so go ahead and take this little high note because I like that little high note. Okay, so that's kind of cool. I'm gonna make this half time. So essentially, okay, I like this, and on that, I am gonna put Shaper Box, which is again my sidechain plugin. So that is gonna go in the intro. I'm gonna bring this in with a filter as well. Except I want the resonance up on that. Okay, let's start nice and low, and we'll use this whole thing to kind of bring it in gradually. Okay. Damn it. Okay. My bad, my bad, my bad. I'm new to this OBS software. Can everyone hear me now? Check, check, check. Let me know when you guys can hear me. Check, 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 check. there's like a bit of a lag. Yeah, okay, cool. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. That was completely my bad. I had muted the mic while working on the music because I was afraid of some feedback, but I forgot to put it back on. My bad. Anyway, what I was saying is that Anshuman had commented that there's like a nice push and pull happening with the sidechain. But what I was saying is that I like to mix down the track in a separate stage. So right now I'm in the sort of writing stage where I'm just going ahead and putting all my ideas down, and I don't really want to get caught up in like the technicals or these sort of like minor details of the sound mixing and how the frequencies are interacting with each other, because that to me is sort of a more scientific sort of technical process, and what I'm doing right now is a more creative process. So I'm just kind of throwing things in there. I can hear that things aren't clashing, and that real sort of groove that breathes, it's going to come in a bit later once I actually get down to the mixdown phase. Yeah, Bimir. I already started. I said everything that I had to say during that time. Okay, cool. Where were we before the mic went off? Kiljan is asking, what are your usual RMS parameters settings on a guitar? I don't know, dude. That's a pretty technical, sort of way of looking at it. I just listen, and if the guitar signal is really loud, then more RMS, and if it's less, then less RMS. Okay, so where were we? Okay, Zyrex is asking me, do I use the machine on stage as well? I used to use the machine on stage, and in my most recent live setup, I don't know if all of you guys have seen the Mixmag set that I just did earlier in February, before the whole world went insane. In that, I was about to take the machine with me, but then I left it behind because there was just like too much going on stage, and I was handling two synths on stage. I have the Roland S801A. I've got the Korg Minilog XD. I've got those two synths. I've got my guitar, which I'm looping, and I've got the MIDI Fighter Twister and the iPad, which I'm using as a controller for the beat repeat. And man, I would kill to have any of that gear with me right now, but unfortunately, I don't. So anyway, we are about 20 minutes before we go our separate ways. So let's just kind of move ahead with this process and see if we can kind of finish a basic structure of the song in like another 15 minutes. Let's have a listen where we are. Where do we have? Sorry, that's a bit loud. I like that close hat. I love Travis Barker, by the way. I don't know if you guys are into him or not, but his slice sample pack is really, really good. So, yeah. So I made this offbeat hi-hat pattern earlier, but now I have to basically create a second one. And I'm going to put volume shaper on this again. Yep. Yep. what was I saying? There's a whole. So here's a little tip is I used to actually put my samples, like this sample, for example, this hi-hat sample that I just used, I used to put it directly on my timeline, but I never do that anymore. I always put it inside Simpler. And the reason for that is that you can control things like this. Right? So you get your ADSR controls for any single sample that you're using, and that is really invaluable. It can really make a huge difference, night and day, really, on how the sample sounds in your session. So yeah, use Simpler first. If you're using Ableton, use any other sampler if you're on Logic, pretty much. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put that there. Okay, now I want to put in like another lead layer. So let's go with someone who's talking about contact. Okay, let's use Reactor. Thanks, Avi. Thank you. So Rounds is a really simple Reactor plugin. It's pretty decent. I'm gonna actually use this keyboard over here. Okay, my MIDI key controller is out of commission right now. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take this layer from my pads and put it. Okay, that's totally freaking ridiculous. Let's go with the leads. Yeah, so in case you guys are wondering, I do start by just browsing presets, especially if I don't know exactly what I'm looking for. So yeah, it can be a really good place to start, but I wouldn't usually just like stop at the preset. I would, you know, push it, do something with it. Why is there so much reverb in this? Okay, here's how you make a melody without a MIDI keyboard. Sound back a bit because it's a little too case you're wondering, I don't really know where I'm going with this. I'm just experimenting. And frankly, it's kind of a bit awkward to be doing this kind of noodling during a live stream, because nobody cares when you're alone in your studio. But hey, we're here. Yeah, I know about the B thing. It's pretty useful. I don't know why I didn't do that. Okay, this sound needs some serious like dubbing out. So again, I'm gonna take a filter. I'm gonna put this down, put it up. What up, Keaton? Okay, I don't know if that's gonna make it into the track or not, but anyway, let's take some suggestions. What would you guys want to see put into the track next? For those who've been hearing it. For those who haven't, I'm just gonna play it until I get over the 20-second lag and I see what you guys are saying. It's a good point, Abhi. The reverse effect would sound good in that. I'm gonna freeze this track. Low end superstars. Okay, cool. Seems like the arpeggio's got a bit of approval. What I'm doing is, since I'm not completely happy with it, I'm gonna resample it completely. So just frozen this track, and now the track is frozen. Come on, don't die on me. Is it gonna die on me? No. Okay, that didn't work. My computer was threatening to die. So anyway, I'm gonna resample this in a more kind of low-tech way. Let's do this. Okay, so there are many ways that one could go about this now. What I would actually do is, if I had my gear with me, I would put this onto a simpler, and then I would basically use slicing mode to separate all the little bits, and then I would play those parts back using the pads. I'm not quite sure how to do that right now. Right now, I definitely can't do that right now. Yeah. Okay, but if not that, let's look at what we can do. Let's just try reversing the whole thing. Screw it. To be honest, that's kind of cool. I kind of like that. Let's keep that for the second breakdown then. Side note, always put something like twin tube or some saturation on your drum bus. It really helps. I'm an idiot. I didn't activate my plugins before I started this live stream, but definitely put some saturations on your plugin. I'm unmuted, guys. I'm unmuted. Shout out to Unmute. I don't know if I'm going to use this breakbeat, but it's an option. All right. I was going to wrap up, but I've got one last question from Jaydev, and I will explain what we did with the guitar sample before we wrap up. So, here's my original guitar clip, right? This is what I recorded originally. Here was the original guitar clip without any effects. Right, so that's like a really terrible guitar part that I recorded without monitoring. And all I did really is put guitar rig on it to make it sound better. That's the orange amp. And this thing, buffer shuffler. It's really, really cool. I just hit randomize on both channels. So the left side is a different pattern, the right side is a different pattern. And then I just resampled this from that. Basically, I recorded this into a new track. That's all I did with the guitar. That's it. Just throw some lush reverbs on there. And the song is over. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for coming and joining me. This was really cool. I really had a lot of fun. The first time that I've ever done this, just live streamed how I work. I mean, I've done a few workshops, and I often sit with friends and produce together, but this was definitely like a really different experience, which I really like. I really like sharing the process of working on a track, and got some really good feedback as well. Sorry for the technical issues. This was the first time that I've done a stream like this, and so I will address these issues. I'm going to use headphones so that you don't have feedback. I am going to make sure that when I need to mute the mic, I remember to unmute the mic. And aside from that, I will see you guys next week. I think we should do this once a week, or maybe more often if I'm bored. But yeah, I'll put out a call on my Instagram. I have to figure out other ways of knowing how to notify you guys when a session like this happens. Here's an idea. You can drop me a message on Instagram if you want to be on my list. I will send out a group email to everybody who wants to know the next time I'm doing a live session like this. So drop me your email on Instagram, and I will add you guys to my mailing list only for these live sessions. So yeah, thank you guys. This has been a lot of fun. Really grateful to everyone who joined, and I will see you guys next time.